Jamie, did you inadvertently click on the wrong meeting invitation last night when you were trying to join planning board?
I may have last night, but I then closed it. Why is it showing that?
No, we were all on and
But yeah, no, I was struggling with the internet connection. That's why I logged on, logged off last night. And when I pulled one back up, I clicked on TRC. I'm like, oh, here's the link. Click back on it. Took another couple minutes to realize I'm the only person on that meeting. So back out and back in. I did do that last night. Maria, stop smiling so much.
It closed our meeting, so we were all waiting for you, and all of a sudden it said another meeting has been started, and it just killed the planning board Zoom meeting.
Oh, that's why it
Did
happened.
it?
I was wondering. I thought it was something, yeah, on my end.
That wasn't me. It must have been Brian. All right, it is 1:05 p.m. Thank you everyone for your patience while we get the recording and live streaming available for everyone. I would like to call the March 10th, 2021 Technical Review Committee to order. I'll take a quick roll call. Jamie Gorman.
Here.
John Schock.
Here.
Rich Bourbonnais.
Here.
Dave Flanders.
Here.
Maria Mack.
Here,
We also have Chris Henier joining us, also representing Union Fire District.
Here.
Item B on the agenda is approval of minutes from February 10th, 2021. Does anyone have any edits, or I would entertain a motion?
Move approval as drafted.
I'll second that.
Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Are there any nays? Any abstentions? Minutes pass unanimously. That brings us to agenda item C, TRC minor review. Item number 1, minor subdivision, no street connection. And Jelly minor subdivision, request for a 2-lot subdivision with no street connections located at 183 Kingston Court North, AP 39-2, lot 14. Again, if the TRC members recall, we continued this from our last meeting, primarily to just discuss the ability to make that connection to the town road through what some may have felt was restricted or open space or buffer area. Based on our research in our department, plus information supplied by the applicant, there is no restrictive covenant or mandatory buffer associated with that prior approval. I know Rick and Josh, I know at least I saw Josh is available. I don't know if Josh wants to take a moment to just briefly run through the proposal.
Sure, Jamie, I could do that.
Recap, Mr.
Sure.
Rosen.
Absolutely. So as presented at the last TRC, Mr. Angeli and his wife are seeking to subdivide their existing parcel on Kensington Court North, which also has frontage on South Road, into 2 buildable lots of record, keeping the existing house and its improvement comprised on 1 lot, with a second lot to be created with its frontage on South Road, obviously both meeting the R40 zoning dimensional requirements for area and setbacks. We, at this point, again, are seeking just the subdivision of land in the sense that this new lot line will be created. There's no immediate proposal to build on this particular land by the property owners and applicant, but we did prepare a schematic for illustrative purposes, which is on the screen right here, which would just give everybody an idea of what could occur should a single family dwelling be considered or contemplated at some point on this property. We made sure we had a house, a driveway located. There were test holes done on the property approved by DEM, which give us an idea where we could put a septic system, a proposed water service from South Road, which we have a letter in the file from Kingston Water that's viable, and then some potential area of a limit of work with some roof drywalls. And as Mr. Rabbit said, we presented documents from the original Teft Hill subdivision showing that there were no restrictions for this type of subdivision, as this original lot was part of the Teft Hill plan. And then we also, in between the last TRC, we had put together a sewer feasibility study because this lot is in the future sewer service area. And we submitted that documentation. It was reviewed by Department of Public Services. They concurred with the findings that we had sought to have this new lot in the future be serviced with an on-site wastewater treatment system as opposed to a public sewer. So I think that's a recap of the plan, and then again, what had transpired between now and the last TRC.
I'll just quickly run down if anyone has any additional comments. Jamie Gorman,
I have no additional comments.
John Chalk,
Yes, so my only question, I guess it's still the same one from the last TRC meeting, is there's a dozen or so lots that front on South Road that also have rear access from Kensington Court north, or I guess, or south. And the thing I guess I'm struggling with, developers typically get every lot they possibly can. And I'm surprised that the original developer of the subdivision didn't do what's being proposed right now for all of those lots. Is there anything in the record, Jamie, that planning has found that had that was discussed at all back then, or not? Aside from a recorded restriction.
Brian Wagner took a little deep dive into this one for us. And again, his conversation with me was that he couldn't find anything. Again, it may have been discussed at that time, but it didn't make it to the meeting minutes. But John, it looked suspect that, why wouldn't a developer in essence get 5, 6, 7, 8 more lots at that time, right? Versus explaining to a planning board that this is a great development because they're not coming off of South Road. But I think as planning boards get, I don't want to use the term smarter, but more educated with what developers tell them they're going to do versus the long-term regulatory requirement that they have to honor what they said they would do. Here, there was no restrictive covenants or easement or buffer placed on the property. So from a regulatory standpoint, John, I may agree with you, but nothing made it through to final approval.
I just suspect that, if this gets approved, we're going to probably.
Was our hesitation last month.
Yeah, I just suspect.
You could see that, yes.
We're going to see more of those for the other remaining lots. So okay, thank you.
So does that mean that in the original documents of the larger development, there was no restrictions on the individual lots, that there could be no further subdivision?
Correct, Maria. Rich, did you have anything to add?
No, I've got nothing more to add. Thank you.
David?
Thank you for your help. Thank you for your time.
Mr. Flanders, did you have anything to add?
No, looks pretty straightforward.
Okay. Chris, from the fire public safety side?
Nope, I have nothing to add.
Okay.
I just have one more thing. I mean, I think initially this just seems like a 2-lot minor subdivision that I think should have been approved quite some time ago. In the larger context of Taft Hill and anything associated with that, the only thing that I can say is that perhaps when Taft Hill was approved, it was before we had FDRP and people were looking at larger lot sizes, and that wasn't a consideration at that point. Now people are looking to perhaps subdivide where they can, but again, we don't have the ability to do anything about it. So, you know, I'd say let's move on and get this finished.
Yes. Okay.
Jamie, do you know if Brian is going to make the meeting?
I'm not sure, Jay.
I just sent him a message asking if he was going to attend. He might be able to shed some light on what he found when he did the research.
Again, we had a pretty in-depth conversation, followed up multiple times as he, continued to dive deeper. And again, could not find anything in the written record to, support any conclusion that there was a restrictive aspect to that easterly side of the development.
Good.
To Maria's point, it's something that in 2021 you contemplate, and when this was originally developed, it may have not been a priority or an item that a planning board would contemplate at that time. So the applicant does have a right under the existing regulations to divide it and have access to South Road.
Jamie, are there any regulations regarding the stone wall? Should there be a cut through to South Road?
No.
Okay.
No. The hope would be, David, that if either the family develops it in, as a lot themselves, or if it's sold to a developer, that they would, respect the streetscape and not remove the entire wall. In most instances, if there's a wall there, I've found that most people keep it.
Okay.
But I don't have anything on the regulatory side.
All right.
Does anyone want to make a motion to entertain a favorable finding on the proposed division?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
Thank you. All those in favor? Say by aye.
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 Opposed? And no abstentions? I see that all members present voted in favor of the motion.
Yep.
Mr. Rosen, Rick, I see that you're in the audience. Thank you for your patience. And we will add this as we had discussed. Jay, we had the intent to put it on the planning board's consent agenda for the next regularly scheduled meeting.
Yes, that's March 23rd, so 2 weeks.
Okay,
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Okay. Thank you. Appreciate it.
so Jay, I think we have Scott Holberg, Mr. Kenyon in the audience for the next agenda item. So agenda item D, TRC advisory review. Item 1, combined conceptual master and preliminary plan for major land development at 221 Robinson Street, proposed construction of 10 single-family second-story apartments over existing first floor commercial retail space. A 857-4, lot 167, located at 221 Robinson Street. Main Street Capital LLC is the applicant and owner. I believe we have Mr. Kenyon in the audience, and Scott Holberg, who I believe is the Main Street Capital LLC. I would like to turn it over to Mr. Kenyon at this time.
Thanks, Jamie. For the record, I'm John Kenyon, attorney for the applicant Main Street Capital LLC. The applicant owns the property at 221 Robinson Street in Wakefield. The property is probably more commonly known as the Healy News Store building. It's 0.43 acres in size, and it's in a CD zoning district. The applicant is proposing to construct 10 one-bedroom apartments on the second floor of the existing commercial building. Per the inclusionary zoning requirements, 2 of the units would be designated as LMI. The property is serviced by public water and sewer. They're proposing 29 parking spaces and 22 are required due to the reduction in the zoning ordinance for CD properties. There's going to be minimal changes to the site except for the second floor addition. And the applicant is requesting waivers from the landscape requirements as the location of the existing building makes it compliance with the landscaping requirements infeasible. We appeared before the planning board on a pre-application at the end of last year, I think. And I'm sorry, at the beginning of last year. And there was a generally favorable response at that time. And also the board at that time voted to combine the master plan and preliminary. So Josh Rosen is the project engineer. Maybe Josh, you can go over briefly go over the plans that were submitted.
Yes, I can. Thanks, Sean. So predominantly what you're seeing on the third sheet here, the actual proposed conditions plan, is a lot of what's existing today. Obviously, there's a one-story commercial building on the property. It's about 8,500 square feet, roughly, or I'm sorry, 8,100 square feet is the footprint of the building. There's an existing parking area to the east of the building right now, which has, as it's labeled, 19 spaces. There are also existing parking spaces, parallel spots on Robinson Street, right out in front of the storefronts to this building that are utilized for parking. There's some green space in the northeast corner. Property borders the bike path, as you may know. And so the things that we've added here to accommodate this new expansion from an engineering standpoint, site design, one is we added a traffic circulation pattern for a one-way in and one-way out. We've relocated a dumpster on the property. The applicant will also upgrade the existing sewer line that services the building. And other than that, the building itself, we did provide architecturals done by Frank Karpowitz, some renderings, some layouts to show what those unit spaces would look like on the second floor level. One thing that we did do on the right-hand side of this plan, actually, I don't know how to get there, sorry. But in the notes.
Josh, you have control of the mouse if you want to use it.
Okay.
I think you just have to accept it.
Got it. Okay. In the notes section of the plan, we kind of covered the lot building coverage and the parking consideration. So when we did the calculation, we have obviously the commercial units down below and then the future residential above. We calculated the total parking requirement based on the zoning ordinance, and this is a commercial downtown district. So it's 50% requirement. We found that the 19 spaces within the parking area, coupled with the 10 spaces out front, 29 spaces in total would meet that demand. That requirement was about 21 or 22 spaces, I believe. So there would be ample parking moving forward to accommodate the one-bedroom units and the existing commercial. That's kind of it in a nutshell on the site plan. Like I said, a lot of the infrastructure can remain in place the way it is to accommodate the expansion of the building. So I can answer any questions, but that's in a nutshell what we're dealing with on the site plan end.
That's nicer. Thank you, Mr. Rosen. What I'd like to do, just to go down consistently, we'll start. I'm actually going to mix it up a little bit, but we'll start with basically engineering and public works with John Schock, followed up by Rich. So John, if you have any questions at this time or comments, it would be appreciated.
Yeah, so I guess I just want to, can they use on-street parking as part of the parking calculation?
We've been looking at that on a zoning code, but that'll be a technical requirement. But
I mean,
we're
with 10.
we're not 100% on that right now.
Yeah, I mean, to me, parking's the concern. And what about snow storage? What are you gonna do with snow for the parking area? Where does the snow end up getting stored?
I would, is Scott or Eric, Scott, you want to answer how this snow removal is managed today? Because I think you'd be projecting to do the same thing that's done the way it's situated now.
Am I up?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. So Scott Hallberg, for the record, I'm here with Eric Bell. We're both on the same Zoom call. We plow the lot now, and we do push the snow to the rear of the lot. The lot goes, there's like a fence there, and we own beyond that fence, and we push right through it.
So is that something we
You're
can?
pushing snow to the north towards the bike path?
Yes, yes. That's what we're doing right now.
So Jamie, should that be on the plan as a designated as a snow storage area? How does that work?
I think it would be appropriate for them to do that so that they're showing it as snow storage. That will clarify that there, in essence, is no snow storage within their footprint of their parking lot on paved area. So, they would have access to those 19 spaces that Josh Rosen referenced year round and wouldn't lose any during the winter months.
The only
So
other,
can I make a comment on the parking?
Yeah, go ahead, Scott.
Okay, so Eric and I envision this as a live in town, work in town, pedestrian and bicycle access, and we do intend to put a bike rack in and have some kind of transportation management there. It is adjacent to the bike path, sidewalks in front of the building. So we do think that the parking is ample for what we're proposing because of the location, the specific location of this property.
but I mean, that's speculative. I mean, whether that actually happens or not, and you get those kind of tenants versus who actually occupies the units could be very different.
That's true, but that is the that's our vision for the property. It couldn't be any more centrally located to pedestrian and bike access, as well as local employment. And we're not increasing the footprint of the structure. It's just a straight up from the existing walls. We're not taking from anything.
So my other comment was regarding sewers. So the additional residential units would be subject to the wastewater system assessment charge and additional wastewater units for the user fees. And has a carrying capacity analysis been done? I mean, it's a 4-inch lateral. That's pretty small, I think, for the commercial and the residential units combined. Has that analysis been done yet? Or if it hasn't, it needs to be done?
John, we did the analysis. We're recommending that the 4-inch lateral be upgraded to 6-inch.
Okay. Do we have that, Josh, anywhere?
If you don't, I will resend.
Okay, just send it to Jamie if you would, and he can push it out to everybody.
Okay.
Thank you. That's all I had.
Rich?
Yeah, my only concern was with the sewer lateral, and as Josh said, he was going to upgrade the lateral. So, I mean, that would be the only issue. 4 inches is just too small, but 6 inches is good and should be fine.
David?
Yeah, I was just curious as to, I think I know the answer, but what will happen to the businesses during construction?
We've had that conversation with each of the tenants. They're aware of our intentions over there, and we're gonna have to work through it. We're gonna have to set up scaffolding and have a safety plan in place.
So they'll be allowed to remain open?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. They'll be allowed to remain open, and
okay.
they're all very much in favor of the project. It's going to be
Good.
make the building much more attractive.
Yep. No, that was my only concern.
Okay. Thank you.
Maria?
The only thought with regard to parking that I had was that the parking spaces that are directly along the street, it would improve safety if you could have some kind of, whether it's granite or cement block or something between those spaces and the sidewalk. You know what I'm talking about?
Yes, I do.
Since it's right up against the sidewalk. And it would probably make it more attractive as well.
Yep.
Chris?
My only question, Scott and John, the fire service coming in for the sprinklers, has that been looked at, and is it going to be adequate, or are you going to have to upgrade that as well?
I haven't looked at it yet, but I mean, we'll certainly make sure it was in compliance with your office. That's for sure.
All right, very good. That's all I have. As far as access for us, I don't see any issues with the access. Nothing's really changing to the footprint, so we should still have access. And we do have access to the back of the building. We can get down the bike path if we need to, so we should be good there.
One other question, Josh, what is that drainage, the drainage easement at the back of the parking lot there?
What we found on the state bike path plans is they took an easement, and there's a catch basin located there, and it receives runoff from the bike path. But we don't have any other records on that right now.
Does it have an inlet and outlet, anything like that?
Yeah, it looks like it's just a dry well.
Okay. Oh, it's got a couple out there.
Yep.
All right, I think I have a couple questions either for Josh Rosen or Mr. Hall. With regards, Josh, you made a statement that you're proposing to modify the parking circulation by a one-way in, one-way out, but your exit is actually not on your property. Do you have permission to, in essence, make that a one-way out and not a one in, a two-way?
Yeah, so I brought that up to the applicants. Maybe if Scott or Eric is on, if they don't already have the agreement, I believe they would be able to put that agreement in place with those owners, but maybe they could speak to that. We just tried to make a more functioning plan for that area, just so there'd be no confusion with the users. So that's why we wanted to kind of make that circulation at the same time. You know, there is a building, the little section of the building that's going to be added for the elevator purposes and the stairway on the east side. So that basically took the aisle in the opening and kind of made it a little bit narrower. So that's another reason why we wanted to try to implement this plan when we do the improvements. But like I said, as far as the use of that exit or that driveway curb cut, maybe Eric or Scott, can you speak to that?
Hi, Eric Bell. Yeah, so currently we pretty much maintain the whole parking lot. We plow the whole parking lot. So we would certainly get something in writing from the other property owner that he would be in agreement with that.
Again, from my perspective, if you're in front of the TRC proposing a circulation pattern, you should have that presently secured. Otherwise, the plan you're showing us cannot be accomplished.
Right. Well, we have an unwritten agreement with that neighbor. They use our access point too. It's an unwritten agreement, but if it's required to be in writing, we'll get it to you in writing.
I would think, for the planning board, when it goes to the planning board, for the planning board to take any action on this, you would need to have that as a legal document.
Okay.
The second aspect, I know you're asking for a waiver for landscaping and going with a one-way pattern. I think you have a 20-foot wide drive aisle. Josh, did you look at an opportunity to potentially go to angled parking where you could narrow the drive aisle and then pick up some landscaping potentially between the sidewalk and the parking spaces? Understanding that the concern is if it's a lightly used parking lot for a percentage of the day, the dynamics of that is going to change when you enter that or entertain that residential component, that it may be fuller on more occasions throughout the day and potentially on the weekend when people are home but not working. And again, it is a walkable downtown. So someone living there with a car in most aspects to enjoy the downtown are going to leave their car in this lot on a Saturday or Sunday when that downtown block is also busy. So again, there may be an opportunity to go to angled parking and do a little bit of landscaping and also improve the circulation pattern. Some of your spots by going to a one-way, those probably first 3 southeastern spots, you're not going to be able to get into those without doing a 3-point turn. The two-way traffic, they would be able to get into them headed southwest, but now if you're only entering from the western portion, the functionality of a few of the spaces goes away. So again, just taking a little bit of deeper dive and how that parking can be arranged, both to potentially allow landscaping and also from a functional standpoint. And again, if you have the cooperation from the abutting property owner, looking at potentially incorporating, for right now, you're not even showing how the parking is arranged on the easterly property. So I think, when you're ever in one of these scenarios, it needs to be a cooperative effort between the two property owners. And I think to Mr. Hallberg's point, you've stated you have that cooperation. So with that cooperation, I think you have an additional opportunity.
One of the concerns with that Jamie, is the businesses get deliveries. And the larger trucks need to come in there from time to time to supply the commercial component of the property. And it could get tight in there if we took away any of that width.
Yeah, we haven't had an opportunity, because again, I wanted to see what options you looked at, but if we put a turning rate, again, what type of delivery trucks come in? You took away potentially a 24-foot entry aisle and you're making it 15. I don't know if Mr. Rosen's run turning templates on that to see just what that does. And again, what may occur is, in order to accommodate your elevator and stairwell, that the space that Josh is labeled as number, it's not labeled as a number, but I think you have the number 10 on it. Josh, Jay, if you can blow up that southwestern portion where the intersection is. Actually, that's going to 13 feet, right? So that by having that, your entrance, that's going to affect your ability to get anything more than a box truck into the site.
That's the typical truck that would deliver to the businesses that are there.
Okay.
That's also the existing curb cut is that dimension. So the only benefit you have now, if any, because the curb cut at the street in between the sidewalk, it would remain unchanged. That's already, anywhere from a 13 to 14 foot width. It's just the space.
But you don't have a 2.5. You're proposing a 2.5 story.
I'm just saying, Jamie, the existing curb cut is not 24 feet.
At the edge of pavement.
Right. The existing curb cut is not 24 feet though.
Okay.
I just measured it on GIS. It looks like it's 20 plus feet though.
From my perspective, you need to just take a little bit of a closer look there. For your major entrance into this parking lot, you shouldn't have a building at the edge of your curb. Or you're not, in this one, you're not proposing a curb, so you're paving right up to that addition. And then I did have a brief discussion, opportunity to talk to Mr. Alberg yesterday regarding architecture, primarily looking at both the eastern and western facades. Understanding he is trying to accommodate elevator shaft there, looking at what can be done to that easterly elevation, and also working on the canopy or front of the building as it relates to the transition between first floor retail and second floor residential. Again, the conversation was very positive in nature, and I'm confident that planning staff can work with the applicant to address some of those issues.
Can I ask a question on this? Are those residential units, do they all have a deck out on the street?
That's what they're at.
Yeah,
So
so there's five units in the front and 5 in the rear. So 5 would face the bike path and 5 would be on Robinson Street.
So are you proposing a cantilever deck over the sidewalk?
No, it would go no further than what's there now.
But
There's a little cantilever now, so it wouldn't go any further than what's there now.
so I guess, well, what's there now, does that extend over into the town's right of way in the aerial right of way?
Yeah, I believe it does.
Yeah, Jamie, that may be something we need to ask Amy if there's aerial easements required. And then, if on a policy decision, if that makes sense or not.
Jamie, I had one question, David Flanders here. How do the residents get up to the second floor?
Jay, you, just on that, what Jay has shown on the slide right now, shows that all the apartments are planned to be accessed via central corridor,
Okay,
the stairwell and elevator shaft, David.
okay. I didn't see that on my plans, that's why I asked.
A good question.
I had a couple of questions. This is Maria. When this came as a pre-app before the board, it was very enthusiastically received, and I think that will remain the case. And it's nice to have those kind of projects, isn't it? My question is, I've been looking at this site on Google Earth, and if you could go back to the architectural drawing, because that is a little easier to look at. See the area on the southeastern portion of the building where there are several bollards?
Yeah,
Is that a space where conceivably something green could be planted? I mean, the waiver request, and I'm the first one to admit it, is reasonable for the landscaping. But if there are a few spots that we could tuck something into and perhaps enhance the landscaping along the back, that would be a great idea. So if you could look at that and see if there's a space, whether it's a tree or a shrub or whatever.
Maria, that wouldn't be a problem currently. Those existing bollards, there's some plant pots and stuff that have, were there probably for years, but we could certainly add some, we want to landscape it nice where we can.
Great, thanks.
Yep. Maria, again, Jamie Rabbit, there may be an opportunity also that's, living landscape. There may be an opportunity to introduce, to your point earlier, some hardscape between the parking lot and the sidewalk to kind of separate a vehicle from the pedestrian. Again, that's why I question Josh Rosen in the circulation pattern is there a way to maybe free up a few feet or something in that circulation pattern?
Yes, right there. Yeah, and you can see that the extension of the building, I'm assuming that's the elevator shaft, takes up some space, but there's still remaining space. So as Mr. Hallberg said, it would provide a good opportunity to say, we're trying to mitigate the effect of the waiver to the greatest extent possible.
My perspective, Jamie Rabbit again, I think it's a good project. It's great for a community to introduce residential in a downtown setting. It's just working through some of the details of the functionality. Mr. Holbrook's going to have to deal with the buildability of it in coordination with the town with regards to sidewalk and access along the street. There may be a portion of time where those 10 parking spaces need to be blocked off in order to allow for the construction of that second story. And again, a lot of coordination between the applicant, the town, and the applicant and his tenants and patience for the community. This is in a downtown setting, in essence, in some aspects with 0 lot lines and constrained lot lines to the easterly side. But I think any hurdle there is can be overcome with good plans and good design.
David Flanders again. What is the time frame for the construction?
I'm gonna ask you that. As soon as we can.
Okay. And how long do you think it'll be going on?
I think it's probably a year.
Yep, sounds about
We'll be
right.
kidding ourselves, winter conditions and so forth.
Yep.
Hey, Jamie, it's John again. I just had one last thing with regard to the sewers, and that there'd be a manhole placed at the property line. With that many units, I think that would be appropriate for both us and the property owner for better access should that lateral get blocked at some point.
Jamie, I have a couple questions.
Go ahead,
This is
Jamie.
Jamie Gorman. Has it been determined if there's any liens on the existing parking spaces on the property for other businesses or establishments to use?
No, there are not. I'm assuming you're asking me, Jamie?
Yeah, if you can answer that.
Yeah, no, there are not.
Okay, and then, so Josh answered the question relative to there's gonna be the required elevator. I don't see on the parking plan a accessible parking space. Do you know where that's gonna be located?
As close to the elevator as possible.
Perfect. And then I had one last question relative, John Kenyon might be able to answer it. Wouldn't this require, I'm seeing it as a mixed use structure now, a waiver to locate the residential on the second story?
Well, Jamie, I was wondering the same thing. The zoning ordinance in the notes section under the dimensional says that the no residential on the first floor. And then in the definition of mixed-use development, it talks about none on the first or second floor, and that the planning board can grant a waiver for it to be on the second floor. I had thought the town had deleted that provision from their zoning ordinance, and I thought that's why the note was changed, but it doesn't look like the definition was ever changed, so.
I thought we did also.
Yeah, it's in the notes, which it's horrible because the notes refer in the dimensional, it says notes 1, 2, 3, and 4, and then they're actually A, B, and C, and D. And they changed the notes, but the definition was never changed. So I've been telling people, I thought we did that like 10 years ago.
Okay,
And, it is in the definition section, so we can ask for that waiver just to cover ourselves, because it does allow for the planning board to waive that requirement. It's not a zoning relief.
yep, yeah, I'll look into that further, but yeah, appreciate it. That's all I have, Jamie. Thank you.
Hearing some of the discussion, do the members think they have enough to potentially make a motion, or would like the applicant to try and answer some of the questions and maybe work them into some revisions to the plan? I think primarily one of them that Jamie Gorman brought up, to accommodate that ADA space. That way it may actually eliminate one of the existing, in essence, to get that ADA space at a minimum, it's a van space. So you may not go from, you may knock that interior from 19 to 18 in order to accommodate ADA.
I'm looking at ADA being space 1, Jamie. with a van accessible aisle just to the west of that. That's all. Be a simple add. We'll add a striped van aisle right there. Yep.
Does that affect the turning radius to get around the building and access the dumpster?
Dumpsters get relocated. Yeah. Oh, yeah, right there.
Sorry, I was on mute. We
Yeah,
relocated that. We relocated that dumpster so that the truck can pull in overhead and back out and empty. So it's not behind the building in the back corner.
How do members feel?
I think we should just get these questions and concerns resolved and send it on to the planning board. So a motion to do so would be appropriate.
So Maria, just for clarity, a motion to send it to the planning board with the following items to be addressed?
Yes, and perhaps in the interim, they can actually be addressed prior to the planning board review.
Sounds good.
Jamie,
I am going to try and summarize, if you give me a moment, the discussion regarding this. The first potential point that was made was modifying the plans to create some separation between the sidewalk and southerly parking spaces, potentially with granite stops or some other feature. Another aspect was to look at the traffic circulation as it relates to perpendicular versus angled parking, to address the architecture of both on the easterly, westerly facades, as well as the transition between the first floor retail and the second floor residential as it relates to awnings and window placement. Solidifying the legal question with regards to air rights and construction above a public sidewalk. Clarifying ADA parking and access to the building. Looking at landscaping on-site in support of the waiver requests, specifically along Robinson Street and the southeast corner of the building, or other opportunities. Identifying snow removal. If there are bike racks to be placed, or potentially I'll add bike lockers, those should be identified on the plans. That any modifications to the lateral, that transition should take place in a manhole. And then also with regards to traffic patterns, clarification of rights to modify the easterly property not owned by the applicant as it relates to the revised circulation pattern. I want to say, I think I tried to highlight the items that were mentioned by the committee members.
And Jamie, lastly, that the residential units are subject to a wastewater system assessment charge and an additional annual wastewater units.
Okay. Anything else? Would anyone like to make that motion?
I thought I did actually, but I'll make it more formal at this point.
I'll second it.
Motion made by Maria, seconded by David.
By David, yep.
Actually do a roll call just because I can't see everybody on the screen right now. Jamie Gorman,
Aye.
John Schock.
Aye.
John, can you repeat that?
Aye.
Aye. Rich Bourbonnais,
Aye.
Dave Flanders,
Aye.
Maria Mack,
Aye.
and Jamie Rabbit. Aye. So the motion passes.
Thank you.
To the planning board. And again, I'll do my best to re-review the audio of this and get those items correct. So that brings us to our next agenda item, which is agenda item E, which is adjournment.
Move to adjourn.
Second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Jamie.
Thanks,
Thanks,
everyone.
Jay.
Yeah,
Thank
in
you.
and out in an hour today. Pretty
Thanks,
good.
everyone.
So,
Thanks, guys. See you.
everybody, enjoy the rest of the day.
Thanks, Jay.
Thanks.
Thank you, Jay.